told here. And in fact, there is a plea coming out from those who have made it to the border, to the Egyptian military and the Egyptian government, that they must intervene in order to help their compatriots who they say are being targeted. Another part of the traffic that is coming in and out of this border crossing behind me, Imran, is of medical workers and volunteers. There are huge numbers of Egyptian volunteers as well as Libyans who live across the world who have set up a medical camp not too far from here in a city called Marsa Matruh. They've called it the World Libyan Medical Center, and they're trying to send in as much medicine and other equipment through this border. The Egyptian authorities have facilitated their transportation through here and allowed them in. However, their call is that they also require protection and intervention from the international community, because obviously the lawlessness that exists in large parts of the country is making their life even more difficult, Imran.
Jamal, thanks a lot for that update from the border between Egypt and Libya, from Saloum, to be exact. We will no doubt hear from you later on. Now, with reports of more violence, the international community continues to increase pressure on the Libyan leader. Britain's foreign minister has said the odds are stacking against Gaddafi, adding that the regime is committing serious offences. France has repeated calls for sanctions. US President Barack Obama has vowed to work with other countries to hold Gaddafi's government accountable. The EU says they are exploring possible travel restrictions, an arms embargo and asset freezes. The United Nations says attacks are a serious violation of human rights laws and those responsible should be punished. But a formal resolution requiring UN action is not immediately likely. Well, as foreign leaders continue to weigh in on the situation in North Africa, France's president has been criticized by his own diplomats. In an anonymous letter, the group of diplomats called Nicolas Sarkozy's recent foreign policy impulsive, amateurish, and preoccupied with the nation's image in the media. They say, quote, the policies adopted with regards to Tunisia and Egypt were defined by the President of the Republic without taking into consideration the analysis of our embassies. These policies chose to view Mr. Ben Ali and Mr. Mubarak as the southern pillars of the Mediterranean. Well, AlJazeera's Charlie Angela is live for us in London. Charlie, dissent in the ranks, uneasy times for President Sarkozy.
Yes, it seems to be a major revolt by diplomats against President Sarkozy, and some of these accusations are pretty serious. They're basically accusing him of making foreign policy mistakes that have weakened France's position on the world stage, and it's pretty strong stuff. As you said, they're accusing him of amateurism, of ignoring the ambassador's advice, and of caring more about what he looks like on TV than the fundamentals of foreign policy. And you read out one quote there. I'll just read you another one, which I thought was particularly strong. They've said, it's clear that the president is contemptuous of the state's bureaucracies and blames us for the failures of his own political decisions. So there's obviously a lot of anger there from some of his ambassadors, who are people he really needs to keep happy.
Well, they chose an interesting time to submit the letter, didn't they?
Yes, I mean, during the past few weeks, to be honest, there have been some embarrassing diplomatic slip-ups. Paris was seen to be standing by the Tunisian and Egyptian regimes until the very last minute. And then there's the case of the French foreign minister, Michel Alliot-Marie, who it was found had holidayed in Tunisia soon after the protests began and travelled in the private plane of one of the close associates of the former president, Ben Ali. So the timing comes shortly after a couple of some serious mistakes, basically.
Any reaction from him? Has he said anything in response?
No, nothing from the man himself, although his chief diplomatic advisor has come out to say that they do not like anonymous letters. Remember that this letter was published in the newspaper Le Monde, and this advisor says that they are taking very seriously all the advice that they receive from the ambassadors. They read 150 cables a day, but it could be very damaging for Sarkozy. He's currently the president of the G8 and the G20 economic forums, and he's facing a re-election bid next year. But interestingly, the French public seemed to almost be backing up these diplomats' accusations. In a recent poll, just last week actually, in the newspaper Libération, 72% of French people said that they felt that the country's position had been weakened since Sarkozy took the presidency in 2007.
Live from London, Charlie Angela, thanks for that. More still to come. Joe will have all the sport as the Champions League title holders slip up in the last 16. Plus, the price that some fans had to pay to get a ticket for India versus England at the Cricket World Cup. Welcome back. Let's remind you of the top story. Libya's President Muammar Gaddafi has always promoted himself as one of Africa's great leaders, touting a vision of progress and wealth for the entire continent. Now, after a week of violence in Libya, the African Union has condemned his actions against the pro-democracy movement. Yvonne Ndege reports from Abuja.
The images of violence in Libya have appalled Africans across the continent, as they have the whole world, especially because the man at the center of the crisis, Muammar Gaddafi, has positioned himself as a champion of the continent, vigorously promoting the Pan-Africanist idea of a United States of Africa, one in which he would be president. A continent with one army, one passport, one currency, called the Afro. So what will become of Colonel Gaddafi's vision if he's toppled from power in Libya?
The exit of Muammar Gaddafi in Libya will have some tremendous consequences on the capacity, especially in terms of the tremendous energy and resources that he has dedicated towards ensuring that African unity, or what he calls an African continental government, comes into force.
The African Union, which was to be Gaddafi's vehicle for the idea, ignored him when he was its chairman last year. Despite that, the Libyan leader used his country's vast oil wealth to influence some in the organization, spending billions of dollars on everything from aid, the military,